Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Pwnery's Week in Review. I couldn't even tell you what episode this is. I think it's like 22, 23. Oh yeah, I should probably read the title. I'm being an idiot. Anyway, this is a new intro music, as usual. This is called Ben Carlos. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Anyway, if you like stuff like this, you can always pick it up over at bassdrive.com, which is where I get these sound samples, which I'll probably get hit with a copyright strike for. But I don't care, because it's a badass track. So, anyway, as per usual, we're going to give you the week in review. We're going to give you our takes on 5 stories of the week. And as usual, I have my regular suspects panelists, so we're at full strength today. Power plays are not in the itinerary. We have full strength. So anyway, morning Tony, morning Scott.
Morning, Sean. People who happen to listen.
If they happen to give a crap. So, we have a lot to cover. It's only 5 stories, but the first 2 are quite large, so this may take some time. But we've also got some pretty good personal weeks in review updates, at least for one of us. Why don't y'all go first?
Which one wants to go first?
Well, you've got the biggest thing, so we'll start with the big one, work our way down.
We signed the deal and paid for the property we were looking to buy. The reason I've been gone from this show for a bit.
Hmm.
Bought a building to put on it. And now I'm just trying to get shit together to be able to put the building on it and get the fuck out of Illinois.
Finally. I think the best part of what happened to you this week was you made the deal and the paperwork was drawn up, and the following morning there was a 4.0 earthquake in the area you just bought.
I don't care.
It was almost as if the earth was like, oh shit, here he comes. Then again,
I don't give shit like that too much thought. I mean, it's on the New Madrid fault, so yeah, there's going to be quake.
well, maybe nature was doing you a favor. It was like, hey, let's just shake up the trees a little bit and knock a few down before he gets here. We'll give you a clearing to work with.
There's more to clean up.
Mm. Scott, any personal week in review goodies?
I got some new load bearing gear.
Oh dear. I don't think I won my magazine. Oh, I did! Yes! Week in review, personal in real time. You're getting it live. I won the magazine for my my Savage. Yes! You guys have no idea, man. Like, I forgot that this thing was going to end before the show started, so I like just checked my items thing, and I'm like, what? It's like, why is there only 2 things here? Yes! So for those of you who don't know, this week... Oh, good morning, Ghost. This morning, or sorry, not this morning, this week...
Ghostest with the mostest?
Yes.
Ooh.
And he did a video review on a new forced reset trigger, and I can't wait to go sit down to that because I'm rather interested. I think it's cool. But
The one from Big Daddy Unlimited.
is it? I didn't recognize the name, but it caught my attention for sure. Anyway, if you guys were paying attention to the other content on the channel, we had...
Also tonight, 2 Ohio gun bills are one step closer to changing who can carry a gun and where.
There, let me shut that thing up. That's going to be one of the feature stories. For some reason, their site keeps replaying that. So anyway, yeah, if you kept up with the rest of the content on the channel, I actually did 2 This Old Gats, like within very quick succession of each other, which doesn't normally happen. I mean, generally, yeah, the Mantis, that's it. I had 2 pistols that were brought to me, and it was, can you check these out? You know, it's like, I think as Mark Novak would say, you will screw up things over time, and eventually you will screw up enough times where somebody else will pay you to screw up their gun. So this guy brought me 2, and generally this old gats are once every like 60 to 90 days, you know, because I'm self-funded, so I just buy them as I can get them, and if I think they're interesting, I'll make a video on it. Strangely enough, I still need to do one on the 1944 Nagant PU sniper, but I really can't this old gat that because there's nothing wrong with it. Like, the only thing that's wrong with it is the cleaning rod has a little blob of rust on it, and I'm gonna boil it and clean it. But other than that, it's perfectly fine. But yeah, I did the Davis Warner Infallible, and I did the Heinrich Ortge's semi-auto pistol, both in 32 ACP, and I sort of went against the grain in terms of refinish. The Ortge's, the guy who owned it actually instructed me to polish it because he knew that there was no bluing left on it. You know, there was hardly any left. There was surface rust that sort of converted, but it was real mottled, and I didn't have the rusting salts for that particular finish that we were going to go for. So he told me, he goes, just polish it out then, it's cool. And then he sent me a picture of an Ortge's in 25 ACP, and some of them came, I think, nickel plated. It was like special order type thing, but you can get them nickel plated. And he goes, yeah, they would look good like this. And his had the black later model grips. So I thought, yeah, okay. So I went and did that. And then afterwards, you know, did the video and put it out there. And then a couple of days later, I figured, you know what, let me just get this other one over with too. So I went ahead and did the whole episode on the Infallible, which was really bizarre because there are no videos anywhere on the web on how to completely take down an Infallible to its component parts. It's got these 2 guide rods and recoil springs, just like a 90mm artillery cannon that the Army used to use in World War II, like the compensators on the top of the barrel. And the only reason I could use it as a reference is because we built a tank, and I think we only sent like 1, but it was a T-26E4 Super Pershing. It was a modified Pershing. They built like rudimentary spaced armor with like sharp angles in the nose and things, and they put this upgraded mantlet on it, and it had this monstrous, I mean, for the caliber was small, but like the barrel, the compensator, everything on this thing, this was an artillery piece that they literally converted for tank use. And it had these 2 gigantic compensating springs and shocks above the barrel, so it had this real unique look to it. And as soon as I saw the Infallible, that's the first thing that popped into my mind, because it has this like breech block that recoils just like an artillery piece too. And I thought, man, I would not want to be in that turret if I'm leaning over at the second that, you know, the commander fires that thing. You'd lose your head. Either way, clean that one up. I saw a picture while I was doing my research on it, and there was this one that was kind of two-tone, so I went with that just because I thought it was a unique look. And the frame of this thing was so far gone, and digging even further, I discovered that that gun wasn't even all original. Like, it was a hodgepodge. There was this gun was a commercial failure. They didn't make very many, but they made 2 revisions in its short life. And in that short life, mine had the middle generation frame, but it had the later generation compensator or recoil block. So I thought, well, that's weird. This is a Heinz 57. So I had even less reason to try to restore it because it'll never be original. It was mixed parts anyway. The problem with that gun particularly was the magazine release is so stupid. It's on the bottom of the front of the grip strap, and it's already a small gun that your pinky hangs off of. So my ring finger, while I'm holding this grip, if you squeeze the trigger, you drop the mag because your ring finger squeezes on the front of the grip, and this thing has like a toe that sticks out and digs into your finger. So I was dropping the mag every time I squeezed the trigger, and I had to like sort of learn how to loosen my grip on one finger and squeeze harder with my middle finger. So that, I solved the mystery of why the mag spring felt weak. It wasn't. It was just letting go of the mag because I was squeezing the release. And then once I got the recoil block taken apart, I saw why the striker felt real weak, because the striker spring, first of all, is 3 inches long, and it was broken in 2 places. So it was like it was a 3-piece spring at that time. And once I had finished recording and I edited the video, I kept like playing with the gun on my desk, and I'm like, I can't give it back to him not working. You know, my pride was into that one. So I went over to my neighbor's house. I showed him the spring, and in about 30 seconds, he machined me a solution. He took these little aluminum rods, and we ended up machining down nipples on either end of the rod with like a ledge in the middle. So it looked like maybe like a plus, and the nipples were just the same size as the inner diameter of the spring. So essentially what he did was he made me 2 aluminum couplers, and I would stick the 2 broken halves of the spring on either side of this thing. And then I put like a dab of blue or Loctite just to kind of hold it in place on either side of the nipple. And then I put the second one on, did the same thing, and then we threw it in his toaster oven at 200 degrees.
Also tonight, 2 Ohio gun
Jesus,
bills are
it's
one
doing it
step
again.
closer to changing who can carry a gun and
They really want me to tell you this story.
Apparently.
Anyway, I let it sit in the oven for about 20 minutes. The Loctite cured up. I grabbed the spring and I was shaking on it. It felt like one piece. I stuck it back in the gun and cocked it back and let her fly and poked a hole in my little finger because the striker works now. And I thought, yep, it works. We're good. So I gave him back that one too, with a 3-piece striker spring that apparently works. And he asked me, what can I pay? How can I pay you? And I told him I wasn't sure because he was technically the first paying customer. And he was like, well, I've got a couple other things I'd like you to look at if that's cool. And I'm like, sure. So he brought me a 1873 Springfield trapdoor rifle that was converted to a breech loader. He's like, just give this one a once over and let me know if there's anything wrong with it. Okay. Then he brought me a Remington 1903 A3. Now, I have a Springfield one, but the Remington one was in World War I dress. Mine's a sporter. So I was pretty excited to get my hands on that one. And he goes, same thing with this one. I'm like, okay. And then he brought me a Savage 1907 late model, which some of you may know that was on my to-do list. And it came with a holster too. And I thought, wow. I'm like, what do you want me to do with this one? And I'm holding it and playing with it the whole time. And he can tell I'm kind of into it, right? And he goes, I want you to keep that one. I'm like, what? And he goes, consider that your payment. I'm like, you're sure? And he's like, yeah, you can have that one. That's yours. And then he wrote me like a bill of sale, basically just saying he was giving it to me. And he was like, you're going to need a magazine, though. It doesn't have one. So I went looking for a magazine, couldn't find one. And what ended up happening was the internet had one for sale for $100. And I'm like, nope. And then I went to a company called Triple K, and they claim to have a magazine, but it's only a 7-rounder. So I emailed the company 4 times just to say, are you sure this will fit my 1907? Why did you make a 7-rounder when these were 10-rounders? Never got an answer. So I kind of just leaned back in my chair and I was like, to hell with you then. And then, as luck would have it, Scott, trying to spend my money, sent me to a couple of different auctions throughout the week. And in one of those sellers' other items for sale, lo and behold, 10-round 1907 magazine for a Savage pistol. And I'm like, no way. Opening bid, $50. So I was like, I'm in it for $50. Put in the bid, totally forgot about it until this morning. Didn't realize the auction ended before we went on air. And I just won that joker. So now I've got a 1907 that will actually get to shoot, which is nice. And it doesn't even need anything. Like, it's pretty clean. I might boil it just to give it a once over, because if I degrease it and I hit it and dry it, you can see some brown spots here and there. But I mean, other than that, mechanically it's fine. Gun's clean. Oh, and the guy that brought these over for me to look at, he's hinting to me that I might get to keep the Remington. And that's going to be awesome, because if I get a World War I dressed 1903 A3, then I think my Sporter is going to be for sale. I don't have to have two. I just wanted it for nostalgia. For those of you who don't know, it's an older This Old Gat, but my 1903 A3 was literally just an empty receiver and half a bolt and a Criterion barrel in a box. So I didn't have any of the parts to restore it. I just, 3 pieces. And in the course of about 2.5 months, I was able to acquire all the other parts to complete it. So I got a Monte Carlo stock for it. I put a folding bipod adapter on the sling swivel mount, and I basically mated the Criterion barrel to the receiver. I got the rest of the parts for the bolt, the magazine, the floor plate, the trigger, everything, all of it. And the receiver was already drilled and tapped for scope mounts. And thankfully, in the estate stuff that I had cleared, the scope mounts that he had were in a box for that rifle. So I didn't have to try to guess which ones it was going to fit that hole pattern. They were Redfield scope mounts, basically. And then I put on a fixed 3-power, fine wire 3-power. It's I think it's a Bausch & Lomb. I bought it at Collector's Firearms. Maybe some of y'all might not know about this, but Collector's Firearms, probably one of the biggest gun shops in the country in terms of retail space. They're 40 or 50,000 square feet now. Huge. It's huge. They took an old Barnes & Noble over, basically, and converted it. And they are on Gunbroker as well as... what is their seller's name?
Or something like that.
Coalfire, Colfire. And they're pricey. They are pricey. Their gunsmiths are pretty good. You get COAs with historic rifles. But every once in a while, if you go through their listings, just check back every now and then, they'll put their fixer-uppers up there. Or they'll put small parts or just pieces. And that's how I found, that scope, for instance. It has a really unique mount, which I didn't end up using. I'm not even sure what that mount works on, but I kept it in a box in case I ever see another one. I'll go, oh, that's what that's for. But it worked out really nice because that's got glass now, but it doesn't have any windage or elevation adjustments. So it's like I had to be Johnny on the spot with my scope mounts on the receiver and, level it. And then I used a bore sighting laser, and it's pretty close. Like, this is definitely going to be a Kentucky windage rifle, unless I change the glass again. But the other thing that I got from them was my M38. It's going to do it
also
again.
Tonight.
See? I caught it that time. Anyway, I don't know what the hell's up with their site. Anyway, I bought an M38 Swedish Mauser from them, and it was a fixer-upper. And it was 3 episodes ago for This Old Gat, if you guys haven't seen it. But that turned out really nice, because those typically sell in my area for anywhere between $600 to $1,000, depending on condition. I paid $210 for it, and I think I threw $40 in small parts at it. And I've got a complete M38 Swedish Mauser. Sorry, not complete. I'm missing the sight leaf adjuster, so it's only a 100-yard rifle right now. But it's still complete to that degree. I tried different sights to get it to fit, and the M38s is kind of unique. So if anyone knows where there's a M38 Swedish rear sight adjuster, or a whole leaf with the adjuster, I'll buy it. Just leave me a comment or something, or email me at the address in the link below. Same thing for those of you who want to join the server. Same deal. Email me. Go ahead, Tony. Sorry about that.
As a FYI, it does get pretty windy in Kentucky.
All right, so I'm going to start with this story first, just so it'll stop playing the damn video, because it's going to screw up my order. It was actually the third story, I think. No, it was the fourth story of the day. But we're going to go ahead and start with this one first, just because I'm sick of this thing playing this damn video over and over. Ohio, bang, is one vote away from becoming the 22nd constitutional carry state in the country. And that's good. And this guy here, it's not his fault. It's their website. The video just keeps playing. I could play it for you, but I mean, what's the point? You've already heard it twice. But anyway, yeah. Their constitutional carry bill, House Bill 227, was going through the House, I think, over the course of about 6 days. And it finally passed, I think it was 2 days ago. So that would have been Thursday. 3 days ago now. Sorry, it would have been Wednesday. And as far as I'm aware, this is going to go to the state Senate, which I believe will be Monday, if I'm not mistaken. But you can go to Bill Track 50, and essentially, you can check any House bill of any state on that website, billtrack50.com. You pick your state, you pick your House bill numbers, and it'll show you like this flow chart from beginning to end of, you know, proposal, modifications, votes, back and forth between the House and the Senate, going to the governor's desk, all that great stuff. So I think the thing that surprises me the most about this particular story is Texas became the 21st constitutional carry state. It went into effect September 1st, but we passed the bill back in, I think, May. So it took some time between, you know, passing to the next session starting when it took effect. But I remember at the time, as we were pushing for its passage, that Louisiana was like our timid little brother. And you could hear it, you know, from the east, this little voice going, hey, wait for me. We want that too. We're going to do it too if we didn't have such a douchebag governor or something like that, right? And once ours passed, I remember the stories were how Louisiana is going to get this by a landslide now, and everyone's going to push for it because Texas did it, and we're going to do it too. And you know what? It's November, and they still haven't passed it. Ohio caught up, passed it, and now it's sitting in their state senate. So what's up with Louisiana? Anyway. Yeah, good luck to you guys in Ohio. I hope you guys get it. House Bill 99 also is pretty awesome, actually, because they are going to try to push for teacher carry, which, if you ever heard me in lobby chats in months or years prior, I actually had sent in a bill proposal not only to President Trump at the time, which I did get a very good response from. I sent it to Governor Greg Abbott too, and I called it the Good Shepherd Act. And it was my line-by-line proposal for teacher carry. And I sent them both at the same time. So when I wrote to Abbott, I told him that I'm writing it to you, but I'm also sending a copy of this to the president, because if we adopt it first by name, we can push it for national coverage, which means every state can just take a copy of it and go with it. And, you know, it had if this, then this stipulations, so that way on a federal level, they can negotiate it to make it still work. Like, for instance, if they didn't want every teacher to carry, then they could just say, okay, well, every department head can carry. Because usually, like when I was in high school, the hallways, there was a main hallway and then it branched off in either direction. And down every hallway was a department head. Meaning if there was an active shooter in one hallway, there was at least one gun down that hallway, because there was one department head down that hallway. So I gave, like,
wiggle room. I'm like, look, if you don't want all teachers to have it, that's fine. Just give it to the department heads. If the department head doesn't want to do it, then they could designate one other person in their department instead on their behalf or whatever. So like I left all these stipulations where you could work with this. You know, it was like, you don't have to do it this way. You can do it this way or this way or this way. But the fact of the matter is your children are your sheep, your teachers are your shepherds, and if there's a wolf in the building, the shepherd's got to do his job. That's kind of the way I laid it out. And it looks like Ohio's going for that with House Bill 99. Hopefully that'll have a positive outcome as well, because kids are crazy these days. Then again, angry parents of bullied kids are crazy too. So it's like, this is the way the world is, you know? It's nice to have an insurance policy. All right, I'm getting rid of this story before that stupid video plays again. But if you want to opine on it, by all means, go right ahead.
I hope that they pass both of them. Any state that gets good gun laws then is a help to everybody.
Yeah.
Although trickle down works poorly in Illinois. We'll never see that shit here.
You say that, but I mean, we've seen a trend of historically red states turning a disturbing shade of purple, or in some cases blue, right? But the inverse is also true. We have seen blue states not really turn purple. We've seen blue states just flip red. Like the people are like, that's enough. You know what I mean?
Illinois is the poster boy for blue.
It is for now. But I think eventually the people are going to be sick of taking the beating, so to speak. Maybe. I don't know. I forgot to mention something in the Week in Review personals, by the way. And the only reason I'm mentioning it is because I'm looking at it. I bought my first bayonet. And it arrived yesterday. And I put the pokey on my Arasaka. And it looks quite good. And now I'm looking at 11 other rifles that need pokies. What have I done? I'll get to that eventually.
You'd have bid on too.
Huh? Oh, yeah.
You'd have bid on.
Well, yes. So I'm debating right now, do I want... The K-31's starting to creep out of my financial possibility. But the Maru Chassé, the Dutch nil rifle, still achievable. I don't know. I've got 3 days to decide on that one. Anyway, all right, let's go ahead and address the 800-pound gorilla in the room, shall we? If you had watched the breaking news thing, you know, I was really surprised. I got home yesterday. I went, my routine, it's sort of the same every day. I come home, I fight to get the key in the door because it's really dark outside. I just installed a new light, so that sort of helped. And as soon as I walk in the door, I got to drop my bag because the dogs are going to just tackle me anyway. 6 of them. And, you know, a couple of chin rubs, couple of belly rubs as I'm trying to walk across my living room. Drop my bag. And then straight to the fridge, grab an Oktoberfest. Sometimes 2. And then I come into my room, drop my holster. Yesterday it was drop my shoulder rig because I wore the 4006 TSW with the 2 mags, or 3 mags. And flip over to YouTube, hit my subscriptions thing, check for the updates. And wouldn't you know it, there was only one, at the time, one breaking news update about the Rittenhouse verdict. And I thought, that's kind of strange. Because in my mind, when I was at work and I heard the verdict, I thought, okay, I'm going to go home, I'm going to record that video, edit it, put it out there as soon as I can, and it's still going to be 4 hours after the fact, right? There was one video, and I'll give him credit, I'll commend him for it. Yankee put that thing out literally minutes after the verdict was read, which makes me think that he probably pre-recorded it. One and then the other, sort of like when they make Super Bowl champion t-shirts, and then the losers' T-shirts end up in Ethiopia overnighted the following day, that kind of thing. So I think maybe he did that, but he was the only one in my feed at the time that did the video, and I thought, okay, I'll make it then. Screw it. So I recorded a 7-minute video. I think it was actually 5 or 6 minutes of audio, but you know, intro and outro, and put it out there. And then a couple more fell in afterwards, and I thought, okay, it's catching up now. And then I, you know, spent the night sort of watching the aftermath videos from most of the news outlets. And the thing that really blew my mind was there are protests in cities other than Kenosha. There weren't really any in Kenosha. There was New York, and I thought that was a bit strange. But now I woke up this morning and it was like, there's riots all over the country. And it's like, no, there isn't. I don't see anything burning, thankfully. But anyway, let me load this up. There's the picture. So yeah, we're gonna talk about this a bit.
I need to address something right quick.
Go ahead.
Seems Mikey has went colorblind.
You mean
Most of
about
Illinois
Illinois being blue?
Most of Illinois is red.
I think
except
he
for
meant
this-
that.
I know it, but
Yeah.
any chance to bust his chop is
Pretty
cool.
funny. So, okay, so if you guys just fell off a turnip truck, or if you just woke up, you know, from a coma in 2018, I'm sorry, but your president lost. He had his election taken from him. And we've got this bumbling idiot for 11 months now. And by some strange coincidence, they were able to blow $8.6 trillion or add 33% to the national debt in 11 months. So there was that. There was a self-defense shooting in Kenosha, Wisconsin. There was a trial. I'm saying this for whoever woke up from a coma, by the way. And Rittenhouse was found not guilty on all 5 charges. What was kind of powerful to me as I watched it is when the jury read the verdict, charge by charge, line by line, when he collapsed like a ton of bricks, that was powerful for me, because you can tell that kid can't keep his emotions together anymore. For a guy who had to face what he faced as a 17-year-old against a mob of angry adults, young adults, to be able to have the wherewithal and to be able to, well, keep his shit together while being pursued and attacked mortally, like with the intent of being killed, and to be able to identify his target, have trigger discipline, not lose it and just go after everybody, you know, all of that, and then to see what's left of him when the verdict was read out, and how he couldn't sit still, and how he just, like, his knees gave out and he just fell right on the table, essentially. Like, that kid's never going to be the same. But, you know, watching him do that, and then, like, you could tell he couldn't even breathe properly. Like, his shoulders were heaving, and he was choking on his own bottom lip. And, he hugged his defense attorney, and you can hear him say, calm down. You know, you can see the hand gestures and the body language. He was like, calm down. You're real emotional. It's over. Just relax. You know, it'll only get better from here, that kind of thing. And he settled down pretty quickly. But I thought that was really, a powerful moment. And then, they rushed him out of the courtroom because they didn't want a mob literally chasing him down or whatnot. But, what I touched on in the breaking news yesterday, which a lot of people don't want to talk about it like this, but you sort of have to. You can't ignore it. You have to address this because this is going to happen, right? If you guys didn't know, he had 2 different lawyers before this. They were both, I don't know if they were fired, but they were both replaced by the 2 he has now. And during the exit interviews, his current defense attorney was asked about the previous two. And he said, I'm sort of glad it turned out this way, because what had ended up happening is one of his other defense attorneys wanted to fight for a cause, whereas I wanted to fight for a not guilty verdict. And when he said that, I knew immediately what he was talking about. Because they interviewed that other lawyer last night on Laura Ingram's show. And I thought, what the guy was saying is not bad. Like, he's right. And it touches on what I'm about to talk about, which is this case and this verdict and this trial will have implications for every Second Amendment and self-defense case for the next 50 years. It will. Now, the defense attorney that was released was fighting with that mentality of this is going to set precedent and case law for generations. Because what this case has proven is, yes, you can retreat. Yes, you have the right to defend yourself. And no, they can't tell you what weapon you use to defend yourself if it is legally owned and purchased or possessed. You've got people like former Governor Andrew Cuomo, which I don't even know why he thinks that anybody gives a crap what he has to say after being ousted. And you've got Bill de Blasio, the former mayor of New York, who's about to leave office. Why anybody would care what he has to say? But both of them were basically demonizing the fact that he used a giant assault rifle. And it's like, first of all, that ain't an assault rifle. That thing is as much as an assault rifle as Caitlyn Jenner is as a woman. Okay? It looks like something, but it ain't that thing. Okay? Let's just get that out of the way now. This is going to set that precedent for future self-defense cases, regardless of if it's an AR-15, regardless if it's a Ruger LC9, whatever. This case is perfect case law study. They're going to show this video over and over and over. You know the thing that bugs me the most? The drone video. The high-quality drone video. The defense fought because the high-quality one came out after all evidence was presented, right? I think they should have allowed it, because if that video proved anything, he was still running away while being actively chased and attacked. It proves that he retreated. It proves he was cornered because he was tired. He was kind of a pudgy kid. He was winded, right? And he turned around in an act of desperation to save his own life, and he shot this guy. That video would have helped the defense. But, you know what? They argued it their way. They didn't want it used or whatever. And it doesn't matter. We all knew that he was not guilty. We all knew it. The whole racism angle has no weight whatsoever. Because, okay, the riot started because of a black individual being shot and paralyzed, right? That's where BLM has a dog in that hunt. Everything past that incident, though, had nothing to do with it. It was a white kid, and they were white victims. Jump Kick Man wasn't even identified until the day before the verdict, right? And what's funny about that is, everyone said Jump Kick Man was unidentified, right? After the verdict was read, all of a sudden they knew that guy's name. Or sorry, just before the verdict was read. All of a sudden they knew that guy's name. And then the news came out that that guy reached out to the prosecution and offered his services and testimony. And they said, thanks, but no thanks. And then the prosecution actually notified the defense and said, we know who this guy is. This is his name. Do you want to talk to him? And the defense said, thanks, but no thanks. Because they both knew that if the prosecutor wanted him, then the defense would destroy him, saying, so you attacked him, so he had every right to shoot you, right? And they'd be like, oh, crap. No, we don't want him. No, we don't want to put him up there. So you guys don't want him either, right? Right? You kept nudging him, right? The defense is like, okay, we don't want him either. Tainted witness, whatever you want to call it.
Well, and the visual of the drop kick itself speaks volumes for what the kid was going through.
Yeah. Dude, let's be honest. Every video and picture paints his defense perfectly, categorically. And the fact that they kept trying to call it racism is it's a joke. Because look at the victims list. Better yet, look at their rap sheets of the victims.
Yeah.
Look at his rap sheet prior to this incident. There's no case. There's just no case. Anyway, let's see. In my notes for this particular story, it said comment on Cuomo and de Blasio and half of Hollywood making raptor-like screeching noises in protest. Yeah, so the fallout of this, after the verdict was read, was obviously Twitter, the social media of idiots, and Hollywood people, which are also idiots, went crazy about this is an injustice, this is white privilege, this is racism on full display, all this BS, right? And I went through the list of the usual liberal suspects in Hollywood. The one that really surprised me, and I think I've just put on some blinders to this, was Levar Burton. I was in that guy's corner pushing for him to become the next host of Jeopardy because he was an icon for literacy and education growing up, right? I had no idea he was a lib. Maybe I just ignored it. But when he opened his mouth about it, I was like, come on, man. Like, I felt like Joseph R. Biden. I was like, come on, man. Were you? You know, that was like an et tu brute situation. I'm just like, of all people, why did you have to open your mouth? So anyway, yeah, cancel culture, you've got an entire list of idiots now to go after. Because right now you're going after each other, so why don't you go after these guys? Let's see. Remind the audience that Kenosha didn't burn. So, yeah, if you think about it, you've heard the prosecutor say this, you've heard the defense say this, you've heard the judge say this, you've heard the media say this. Even though Rittenhouse is found not guilty, if you think about it at the end of the day, there aren't really any winners in this case. The kid still has PTSD. He'll never be able to live a normal life. He'll always be remembered as that. Or if you follow the memes, which this is a joke, so just calm down. If you follow the memes, the other thing he has to live with is the fact that half of America thinks his sister is hot. Anyway, point is, he's not going to have a normal life. 2 people are still dead. 1 guy's still critically maimed, who's probably not going to see his $10 million payday now because he literally handed the defense everything they needed with his admission on the stand. Right? The only winners in this is the people of Kenosha, the city of Kenosha. Their city is not burning. Their businesses, the ones that are still open, as of right now at least, have not been destroyed. And maybe, now correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe it's just the fact that there are 500 National Guardsmen on duty. And maybe, had they been there on August 25th, 2020, we wouldn't be talking about this case right now. But because some people want to defund the police and demonize a president who offered to send National Guard troops on August 25th and was declined, this all had to happen. It's really unfortunate that things like this have to happen just because people think they know better. And they don't. Because this is the result.
I was watching PBS NewsHour, I think it was, and they were on there talking about this and how horrible it was that this murderer got away with it. They asked a lawyer who was a guest on there, what about the civil case?
Yeah.
You know, these people should go after Rittenhouse civilly. And the lawyer, and I'm waiting for a long bunch of bullshit that just pisses me off to no end, says there's no case.
Mm-hmm.
He got acquitted.
And acquitted, they got no case.
And those people that were around the table were just stunned. And
Yeah.
I'm like, yes!
All right. So there's more to this. Okay, like I got things to touch on. Defamation suits, like you're saying, we got civil suits and defamation suits coming, right? And I heard some pretty good interviews yesterday about, does Kyle have the moral high ground to win defamation suits? And one of the most interesting replies and responses I heard last night was, probably not. And here's why. Defamation of character suits typically involve somebody who's a public figure. And what was argued here was that Kyle Rittenhouse, before this incident, was not a public figure. During and after this incident, as a suspect in a double murder trial, became what was known as a semi-public figure. He was only made a figure because of the stipulations of his upcoming criminal case. And because of such, any defamations toward his character will actually be very hard to prove, because the defamations are opinions of the case. Now, one could argue that those opinions of the actions of this case could make a hostile courtroom or a hostile jury, or even jeopardize the blindness of justice, right? But the best part is before the guy completely pissed off the audience, he said, however, he has one case he could win, for sure, slam dunk, without question. And coincidentally, it's the biggest fish of them all. You might not be able to win against CNN. You might not be able to win against Bill Maher or whoever, or The View, right? But Kyle Rittenhouse versus President Joseph R. Biden, without a doubt, would be a slam dunk victory. Because number one, the commander-in-chief has no right to opine on the character of somebody during an ongoing investigation. And if you need any proof of that, listen to Peter Doocy grill Jen Psaki the day before yesterday and ask her what gives him the right to call this kid a white supremacist. And she just sat there and goes, I'm not going to opine on an ongoing investigation. Do you know why? Because then she would be a second, she would have to defend the president in a criminal case of defamation of character, and she will not stick her neck out that far. So yeah, imagine.
He may not have grounds there, but he might have ones on libel and slander.
Well, that's the thing. If you're going to go after somebody for this, go after the biggest one of all. Go after the commander-in-chief, because he can't defend his actions. He was caught on camera repeatedly. And then, after the verdict was read last night, he opened mouth and inserted foot again. His first public interview, he talked about, well, we have to respect the decision of the jury. And I thought, okay, I can go with that. But then the White House corrected that later and went right after the kid again. And it was like, wow, you guys are really doubling down on stupid today, aren't you? So why not? Sue the President of the United States. Go for it. Make him a public spectacle, because their side had made our guy a public spectacle for 4 years. It's his turn. I mean, if you're going to stick your neck out there and slander a ongoing criminal investigation, if there was any argument for influencing a case, what bigger endorsement do you need than the President of the United States for the prosecutor? They called the kid a white supremacist. He did, repeatedly. He went after the fact that he used an assault rifle. Repeatedly. Right? And at the end of this, what came out in the court case? Well, they gave Rittenhouse's phone to the FBI, and the phone couldn't be unlocked. So the the defense willingly unlocked it and gave it to the FBI. Unlocked. They said, we've got nothing to hide. Here, we've unlocked it for you. Have at it. They found nothing. Gage Grosskreutz, bicep man, the man who had 10 million reasons to lie on the stand repeatedly, they asked for his phone. because they thought he might be a white supremacist. And the defense even insinuated as such, because his social media insinuates him and implicates him as such. And when they asked for his cell phone, do you know what he said? Go pound sand. I ain't giving you shit. What? You got something to hide? So yeah, I hope he really does. I hope he goes after the President of the United States. Take out the biggest one. What do you think
I
that
would
payout would be? Nicholas Sandman, $200 million. 250, right? Kyle Rittenhouse, I don't know, head of the NRA, ATF, and Secret Service, just to get him to not have to sue for trillions. Anyway.
Say, I would, if I was him, I would probably hire the same lawyer that Nick Sandman did.
Possibly. I don't know.
He's got a good track record.
Something is going to happen. He's going to be compensated. Because the fact of the matter is this poor guy his life is never going to be the same, right? I mean, I'll give you a good example. He needs to disappear from the public view like Casey Anthony did the day after she was acquitted. For a while. Now, he's going to do a public interview tonight on Fox, I think. I think it was tonight. If not, maybe it's Monday. Either way, he is going to do some interviews. But afterwards, I think he's going to sort of fade off into the shadows for a bit and just keep his head down. Because you got your life back. Try to keep it together. You know, get through your therapy, stuff like that. Just stay calm. Your payday will come.
And keep in mind that there's about 100 million people out there that want to see your ass dead.
Right. Well, his lawyer already said he's leaving the area, for sure. And the defense attorney of this case will not be present for his defamation suits. He's already said as such. He says, I'm a criminal attorney, not a civil one. He says, I will not be involved with that. He goes, however, I always want to wish the well-being of my clients, so I will keep in contact with him just to make sure he's okay. That guy is awesome. That lawyer, he was cool. Like, he's awesome. So anyway, let's dabble in a hypothetical for a second. Let's say he can't get any of his defamation cases paid out, right? Let's say he even tries to civilly sue Gage Grosskreutz for the $10 million he was supposed to get, right? Let's say he gets that. Let's say he doesn't get any of it, though. Well, not to worry, because, bing! GoFundMe has unlocked any and all fundraisers for Rittenhouse after he was founded, or after he was acquitted. Which means anybody who wants to start a GoFundMe for this guy can. And they can raise money for him now. Which means, essentially, even if he can't win his defamation cases, it's okay. Like, his financial future will be relatively secure, at least for the short term. And, you know, he says he still wants to be a nurse, a male nurse, you know, basic paramedic and stuff. Go right ahead, dude. Like, after everything he's been through, he still wants to help people. At least that's his public statement. I don't see any reason not to let him. Do you? He had no record before this. He had no indication of psychoses or anything before this. He was pushed into a corner and had to make a very split-second decision. And he came out of it with his life intact.
Jimmy says, well, now I know how I'm going to get rich. Yeah, dream on, motherfucker. That ain't happening.
Yeah, you're going to have to fight Tony for defamation suits, for sure. But yeah, I mean, I'm okay with this.
I'm not going to toss shit like that out there because most likely I've said worse.
Did you hear the latest, Sean? Favorite liberal says there should be an investigation into whether the charges were brought politically.
Oh,
to
they were
judgment.
absolutely political. This whole situation was political. This whole situation
Liberal
started
woman,
from
Tulsi
bad political
Gabbard.
decisions. No, you're right. I remember she tweeted that. I love that woman. I actually do. Like, if I had to
Gun.
pair off with a Democrat, it'd be her. Without a doubt. Hit me up. No.
Way to
Getson's
fuck
still
up
going to
other
go
parts
through with
of
what
his
he
life.
tweeted.
Wow. No.
Did that he was thinking about offering him to become a congressional aide.
Oh, who was that? Was that Ron DeSantis that did that? No. Somebody offered him something like
Our
that.
guy.
Anyway, speaking of these interviews and things, so Laura Ingram last night, if you were watching, was on, she does the Ingram angle, which I think comes on after Hannity. And she's an acquired taste in terms of content. So I couldn't watch her once and turn it off. I had to watch a couple of them to sort of figure out her shtick. Last night, she interviewed former President Donald J. Trump. And she asked the same question you did. Was this political? Could this have been handled differently? Do you think the media and the nation regret not following your advice on securing Kenosha before the riots began? All these questions, right? And he was Johnny on the spot with the answers. Like, I don't know if this was a prepared interview or whatever, but he's usually really good at taking interviews, Like, there's very little hesitation. Sometimes you can tell he's thinking of the next thing to say if he repeats the last thing he says 2 to 3 times before saying the next thing. Like, oh, this situation's bad, very bad, it's so bad. Like, when he does that, you can tell he's thinking about the next thing he's about to say. That's his tell. For somebody like Kamala Harris, her tell is that stupid laugh she does. When she's uncomfortable, she does that every time. She's the queen of tells. She's the worst poker player in history.
We know you want her.
No, God, no. Tulsi Gabbard, I'm telling you. Anyway, she asked a question just before the end of the interview. And you can always tell when a politician is ducking a question with an answer that doesn't really even touch the thing she's asking. But she was like, our viewers, the nation, the world wants to know if you're going to fix this in 2024. And then she goes, will you run? And he says, all I can tell you all is you guys are all going to be really happy. So he basically just announced he's running, as far as I'm concerned. The only problem is I sort of pity him if he runs in 24. If he wins, the theme of his campaign will be vindication. Because the first thing he's going to have to do is reverse every bad policy that has bankrupted this nation for what will be the last 4 years, right? I mean, think about this. Go ahead.
Are we going to get Let's Go Brandon hats?
We'll see. We'll see. They were chanting it when DeSantis was signing that vaccine bill.
In
But
Brandon, Florida.
the thing is he's going to have to reverse all the bad policies of what will be the last 4 years, right? And the problem with that is look how much damage they've done in 11 months. $8.6 trillion in 11 months. Think about that, okay? The national debt before Biden took office, I think, was $24 trillion. They added 33% on top of it in 11 months. That means he still has, 37 months to go?
No. About 14.
You think he's going to die in office?
No,
Yep.
he's going to die in the midterms.
Well, okay. Congress
Well, in
and
office.
Senate, or in Congress, you're right. The midterms are going to be, it's going to be like high tide. You're right. But here's the thing. Even if that's the case, right? Okay, they can hamstring and stymie him for passing bills for the last 2 years. You're right. But you know exactly what's going to happen. Trump has to reverse all the policies of the previous administration. That's going to take a long time to recover. I mean, they're talking about, here, I'll just put this into perspective for the everyday viewer, okay? The day before the election, I went to fill the tank in my car. My car only takes 93 octane. Even so, I was almost on empty, and it still only cost me $19 to fill that tank with super. I filled the tank yesterday. I had little under a quarter tank to go. $64. Okay? If you remember back in 2005 or 6, this was when the auto industry was doing its giantism phase. This is when the Ford Excursion came out with that brilliant power stroke and four-wheel drive. But they even made a V10 that got like 6 miles to a gallon, right? I mean, Canyonero, anybody, right? This was the same thing that the auto industry did in the late 60s. We had giantism, and we were doing it in the early 2000s. And what happened? The market lost its mind, and we went through this hyperinflation of oil prices due to speculators. And oil went up to $150 a barrel at its peak. And even then, I wasn't paying what I'm paying right now per gallon of gas, when it's only at $80 a barrel. First question, what the fuck? Second question, if you find some way to excuse the fact that I'm paying just as much now, with the price of oil only half of what it was back then, and they're saying that oil is going to hit $140 by this summer, what do you think gas prices are going to cost then? I can give you a good idea. Go to jolly old England and see what gas costs per gallon. It's about $9.
I was about to say, just look at California.
San Bernardino, yes. But think about that. $140 a barrel by summer. Okay, which means he's probably going to shut down that second pipeline going through Michigan. So enjoy your unemployment lines in Michigan, guys, because you're about to lose your job if you work in that field. Because that's what they're pushing for. How do you think shutting down oil pipelines in this country and essentially demanding OPEC pump more of it is helping us? We were a net exporter of oil and energy before the election. Now we're demanding that OPEC and Russia pump more? Why? We had our own.
To run them out of theirs first?
Okay, you and I talked about this before. We're tangenting slightly, but yeah, you and I talked about this before. One of these days, oil is going to become scarce globally. And if that's the case, you don't want to be the last country in the world with it.
Yes, you do.
No, you don't. Think about this. It sounds good on paper, but if you're every other country and you know that the United States is flush with oil, you're going to save whatever you've got left to attack us, to take it. You don't want that. You don't want to be in the crosshairs of the entire world, because they will.
We already are.
No, not on this scale. But
You
either
realize
way, the point is what
in that
happened?
in that whole world scenario, there's one that's already said fuck you to oil years and years and years ago, and that's Brazil.
They went with sugarcane ethanol.
Alcohol, baby.
Yeah, sugarcane
Booze
ethanol.
solves the world's problem.
Well, they've got the climate to do it, and they've got a nation small enough to do it. I know geographically it's a large country. I know it's also very thick with jungle, and I know that there's very few large population centers, which means the road networks are greatly reduced compared to ours. They're not a car-centric nation, okay? They can do it because what can I equate this to? It would be like, imagine if Hawaii was its own country, okay? Small islands, not very many roads. They can grow sugarcane. They could probably sustain their own gasoline needs using sugarcane ethanol because they're not a car-centric nation. If anything, they're a float plane or a boat-centric nation to hop between islands, right? So it's a little different ballgame.
I'll take fuel.
But you're right. There are alternatives. You're right. Sugarcane ethanol is one. We went the corn route. They went the sugarcane route. Because I think we grow corn easier than sugarcane.
Thing is there's many plant products that'll distill into alcohol.
Well, the best one is that algae bloom stuff or whatever. Like, they've already figured that out. This is how far do you want to take it? If you wanted to grow the algae that can bloom that material to make biofuel, hello, we have states that are almost completely desert. It's the perfect environment to do it. You know, they've got tilapia and carp fish farms in the desert. Because what else are you going to do with that land? Just build giant water tanks, essentially, right?
Well, Jimmy wants to live there with the aliens.
I'm not convinced he doesn't live with the aliens already.
Well, I know he's on the ship a lot.
Yeah. Like, I mean, he's got his own personally monogrammed probe.
That's right. He's getting more than I am.
Shit. All right. So anyway, you know what? We tangented off so far. I forgot what the hell was that. I had to watch this later and say, what did I forget to talk about? Well, we got to this. All right, new story. This
What I do.
This one is one that Scott brought up, and it's kind of just an icebreaker to be funny. So the way I worded this, don't worry, guys. When COVID ends after plaguing the world for 2 years and China walks away with it as if nothing happened and celebrates the Winter Olympics this year prior to invading Taiwan, Pennsylvania is ready to spread smallpox again by accident. So I know that sounds kind of weird, right? But this is what happened. They were clearing out a freezer at a vaccine research facility. They didn't say what freezer. It could have been the one that's got your lunch in it for all we know. And they found vials of smallpox.
They put biohazard stickers on the ones you're not supposed to use for food.
Yeah, I know, but you know what? If some jerk-off was constantly stealing my lunch, I would put a biohazard sticker on that to keep him the hell away from it. Or I would take my lunchbox and stick caution, live animals or something. You know what it's satire, obviously. But yeah, I was like, smallpox vials were found at a Pennsylvania vaccine research facility while, quote, cleaning out the freezer. Look, we get it. You don't want your lunch stolen. Calm the fuck down.
You know, the thing is what took me with this whole thing was the surprise.
Yes.
I mean, you're surprised that this stuff is in a vaccine research facility? Give me a fucking break.
Well, okay, so I delved into this story because I have some of y'all know this, some of y'all don't. I have a medical background right up to MD. I stopped just short of MD because in my field of study, I kept this mantra of, look, I'm sick and tired of doctors pushing pills on everybody when all they need to do is talk to their patients, right? It kind of pushed me out of that field because I was sick of it. But the point is, this virus, smallpox, or this disease, according to what I've read, is considered extinct, gone, doesn't exist anymore. And I think there must be exceptions because they must keep vials of it for smallpox or for vaccine research, obviously. I think what they just meant is it's extinct in the wild. Possibly.
There's cases of bubonic plague still today.
Yes. So, to say it's extinct is probably naive. But then again, when I read it, I took it at face value and I'm like, well, there it is. How's it extinct if it's right there, you know? I could have been the doctor that saved the country. I could have just been the next Dr. Phil. The only thing is I've got a great head of hair and I don't sound like a country bumpkin retard.
Is Jimmy drunk already?
Nah. Anyway. I wanted to put that out there just for fun. Smallpox freezer. All right, what else do I got for you? talked about GoFundMe. We talked about Rittenhouse. We talked about... Yeah, I'm the guy they want to buy off. All
Yeah,
right.
if you went to MD, you could have been. You'd been on a first name basis with Johnson and Johnson and whatever
Well,
the other one.
I can't remember the name of it now. My mentor and I were talking yesterday, and he was saying something about there's a project, and it's got a name to it. It's almost like Project Atlas or something like that. Anyway, the medical field wants to create a sort of searchable database, like a Wikipedia of sorts. And he wants me to write an outline to present to MD Anderson's Cancer Research Center because he's part of the board of trustees. And he has it in his head that I'm gonna be like this guy who comes up with the next thing of like Twitter, like Jack Dorsey. You know, he doesn't know all the nuts and bolts of Twitter. He was a guy with the idea of Twitter. He put it out in an outline, and then he surrounded himself with a crew and staff of people who could make his vision a reality, basically. Now, in the process of getting those people, he learned the intricacies of his craft, right? It's sort of like saying that the captain of a submarine knows how every single thing on a submarine works. To a degree, yes, but I don't think he's the master of everything on the boat. You know, he knows how it works, and he knows how to get people to do what they got to do, and those people are specially trained to do that thing, that kind of thing. Well, this guy wants me to come up with an outline for drug interaction database because far too often I've seen these cases where, like my mother, for instance, uh, she goes to several specialists. Each specialist prescribes her certain medications. She takes them all, and then she becomes Mr. Hyde, sometimes violently. And I contact her PCP, and I'm like, you need to know this is going on because this is unacceptable. And I'm like, here's the whole list of everything that she's been prescribed. You need to figure out what I need to take her off of because she's turned into a monster. Stuff like that. He wants me to create a database program of sorts where you can search for these things, type in all the different prescriptions you have. It'll run it against a global database of all known information of interactions and side effects and whatever. And I thought
He needs to look
that
up,
already exists.
he needs to look up WebMD.
No, see, WebMD doesn't do that. There is a drug interaction database out there, but I don't think it's on the scale he's talking about. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. But that's what he wants me to do. And I thought, maybe.
Well, I'm sure that most of these just gloss over the big ones and, a little piddly shit they don't even bother with because it's so much fucking data.
Yeah. Well, like, for instance, the worst kept secret on this Discord, right? I'm not going to out her by name or whatever, but she's got a condition that's potentially fatal. I've got all the MRIs and scans and video and everything to prove it. Like, I'm putting her in front of every doctor I can that's willing to listen and to see her. Ben Taub Medical Center here in Houston has a department that they're quite proud of. It's called the NTD department, which is Neglected Tropical Diseases Department. I don't think I've heard of that anywhere else in the country, let alone the world. So these are the people I'm working on. Her pain management is so bad that morphine doesn't work anymore. Think about how bad it must be if morphine doesn't work. So they've got her on methadone now. And she was scared of it. So I did my homework because I have a couple of friends who are still practicing doctors. And I'm like, tell me everything I need to know about methadone right now. So they did. And she was like, this stuff kind of scares me. And I said, yeah, it should. I was like, they give these to people to come off of heroin, for God's sakes. There's something strong, there's something incredible about this stuff. And she goes, I'm only going to take half of a pill and see what happens. I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. And then she goes, I'm going to take it on an ad hoc basis. So I'm like, okay, only when needed, right? She's like, yeah. Well, had I had the database thing that this guy's talking about, I would have learned this quicker than just this morning. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to take it as prescribed on an interval on time, whether you think you need it or not. And I thought, I should probably tell her this. Because one of the side effects of not doing that is instant withdrawal. And I read the list of instant withdrawal symptoms. Guess what she was complaining about to me this morning for the first hour and a half I was up? All the problems she was facing because she wasn't taking them on time. And I said, let me show you something. So I gave her that list of what's going to happen if you don't take it on time. And she goes, oh, Jesus, I'm an idiot. So yeah, she's now having to take it on time on interval. But yeah, stuff like this is why I need to get this out there in terms of building a database for this kind of thing, because some people need to know this. Anyway,
she needs to consider the Jimmy treatment plan and
take an alien abduction.
Probing.
I have offered said services, Tony. I'm sure you know that. Many times it's been met with legal resistance, I'll say. I can't elaborate on that, but
I'm not offering service, but it does seem to make Jimmy funnier sometimes, so.
Well, that's because he gets this endorphin rush after being freshly probed.
So if we have a show Monday, it should be good. Shameless plug.
What did I walk into?
I don't know. You're late as usual. You're even an hour ahead of us, and you're still late. Anyway. All right, so the last story of the day is... oh, man, I left out the description again. Let me go back to this, because I want to read the description, because I thought it was funny. All right. Fourth generation Irish cultural appropriating shill Robert Francis O'Rourke is about to become a once, twice, 3 times a loser. Lionel Ritchie was unavailable for comment. That's right, folks. Beto, if you still want to give him his fake Latino credentials, is running for Texas governor. Now, this is a man, if you are part of the 2A community, who is essentially the bumbling idiot when it comes to trying to take away your guns. Because this is a man...
He said what all Democrats are afraid to say.
Well, this is a man who made a career, essentially made a career, I should say, out of fundraising. I'm so sorry, I was trying to find a nice way of saying it. He's made a career out of fundraising because he tried to run for state senate.
Isn't every Democrat?
Well, sort of. At least most of them get results. No, well, still, most of them win offices eventually, right? This guy ran against Ted Cruz for state senate. Ted Cruz pushed his shit in. Now, it was a close race, yes, but in the debates, he was categorically destroyed. Like, he must have looked like he got probed, like someone took a shotgun to a can of roast beef.
I'm
like,
sure
that's how bad he was trounced. Anyway, so he lost that one. That was loss number 1. And he thought, wow, I don't have what it takes to be senator. Maybe I have what it takes to be president of the United States. Yeah, let's do that. And he raised 8 figures. Tens of millions. Trying to run for president. I think he actually won a delegate or 2. Which already puts him ahead of Vice President Knee Pads, who got 0. Right? And yet, he didn't win the primary. He didn't even win a cabinet position with the new administration. So technically, that's 2 losses. So he's already a 3-time loser.
I got to interrupt this with a question.
Sure.
Jimmy. And I realize that you're not Mexican, dude. I get it. But you are Spanish in your origin. Are you offended by this cocksucker's cultural appropriation?
I am, and I'm not even Latino. Like, there ain't a drop of it in me. I don't...
There might be some down the line on my...
I don't understand why the media keeps giving him fake street cred. This all started because his dad was a federal judge, I think? His dad told him to use that moniker because it'll work for him to garner votes. Doesn't that sound like something a liberal would say?
It does.
We're going to give you this fake street cred. You're going to live in El Paso, Texas, and people are going to look past your whiteness and your goofy chin and your herpes lips.
Well, that fucker's certainly whiter than I am.
You know? And he's going to come and take your AR-15. I don't see how.
And your AK-47.
Yeah, well, I don't think he knows which end points to which direction. Like, he seems like the kind of guy who would put the muzzle device against his shoulder.
Well, he said he would take both of them, so.
Kind of like the Rittenhouse prosecuting attorney.
See, so Gunmetal Guy is saying the same thing that most of us were thinking. He makes a career of fundraising. Now, he's not twisting arms to get the money. People are throwing money at him. And he's banking it. When he loses, he's not obligated to return the money.
No, it's campaign funds.
So he's making tens of millions of dollars doing nothing. He should be a congressman.
You sound jealous.
I am.
He is.
He should be a
I am
congressman.
too,
Right?
actually.
He's got, I mean, think about it. He's a congressman without the job. He's getting the pay without having to do the work. Lucky
Sean,
bastard.
Sean, maybe you
Trump
went
for
the wrong
president.
field.
I am in the
Shut
wrong
up,
line
Night
of
Strike.
work. I'm in the wrong line
Trump
of work.
president 2024. Send the check to Jimmy James. He'll tell you where.
Yeah, right.
I'm telling you, man.
Run
If
for
we
that
can,
judgeship.
if we can spend $8.6 trillion in 11 months, and we can offer $450,000 hush money payouts to, quote, illegal immigrants who have been separated at the border, where the fuck is my MRAP from Afghanistan? Yeah,
Still
I'm
in
still on that.
Afghanistan. You just got to go get it.
I'm still on that.
I'll tell you where it is, Sean. It's in the hands of the Taliban. That's where it is.
Where's my MRAP? Or, you know what? You don't have to give me 450,000. Give me half that. I'll take 225,000. I can flip my house for 100 and half and buy a much nicer place with the money. I'll do that. Cool. Now get this, right? Wait, I gotta put this out there because I forgot for an hour. $8.6 trillion in 11 months. I'm not gonna stop banging that drum, first of all. Think about that. 8,600 billion is what that is. Okay? That's 860,000. No, sorry. That's 8,600,000 million. Think about that. Think how many pennies that is. You could fill the damn ocean, right?
Well, now,
They're trying to blame inflation on stimulus payments. Think about this. The stimulus payment, the entire amount that was given to everybody that qualified, about 220 million Americans, was $264 billion out of 8.6 trillion. Okay? A quarter of a trillion is what they say is the cause of inflation. They spent $8.4 trillion, $8.35 trillion.
Remember the pork spending.
That's what I'm saying.
Wait.
$8.35 trillion. That didn't cause the inflation. The $264 billion they gave to Americans in payouts is the cause of inflation. Fuck you.
now, wait a minute. They are kind of on something there.
Yeah.
Because
Methadone.
stimulus payment paid people to
For
not
straight crack.
fucking work.
No, they're on crack. Scott's right.
They're on crack. Oh,
They
okay,
pay
okay.
people
But that's the
to
thing.
not work.
That's the thing,
gonna be a
Tony.
fucking problem.
They didn't say the unemployment benefits caused inflation. They didn't say the child tax credit caused inflation. They didn't say that. They specifically said stimulus payments caused inflation. $250 billion out of 8.6 trillion caused inflation.
Yes, but what was the last thing Trump was trying to do for the people? Get them
When?
that $1,200 payment.
When is what he was trying to
When?
do.
The
He was
last
trying to
thing
make
tried
us
to do
energy
was-
independent. He tried to make our borders secure. He tried to say that the Second Amendment is untouchable. Well, he sort of fucked that up, didn't he? with the bump
Sean,
stock thing.
what about my bump stock?
Exactly. You're
Wait a
right. That's why I kind of backtracked on that. He tried to say that, and then he turned around and did the bump stock shit like an idiot.
Because everybody was pushing him to do something. That's the problem.
He was
Yeah.
trying to get the rest of that $1,200.
No, we got
So-
that.
No, we didn't.
The
Not while he was-
$1,200 stimulus payment was the $264 billion. That's what that was.
Right, but what I'm saying is that's the last thing Trump did.
Stimulus-wise, yes.
So, how do we blame Trump?
We don't.
They
I know what
do.
you're saying. I see what you're saying. They are.
They're blaming all this on Trump.
Yeah,
Ev-
they're blaming
Everything
him for
that's
that.
going wrong this year while they're in charge, they're blaming it all on Trump and the Republicans when the fact is that, hey, maybe if you actually paid attention in school, you'd actually know something.
I'm
But
just.
they never paid attention in school.
I'm still just trying to wrap my head around 264 billion caused inflation, not 8.6 trillion dollars of wasteful spending. You know how that wasteful spending works, by the way? I'm gonna take a
Sean,
very unpopular opinion
It's
here.
their same tactic as every time.
Wait
It's
a
called
minute.
deflection.
Yes, and that's exactly what I was leading into actually. I
It's called
read
deflection.
the entire infrastructure bill, the one
I
that
did too.
passed like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I read all of it, 4,000 something pages. Yeah, it took a while.
Yeah. No.
Wait, that's the thing. I don't disagree with that one because if you looked at it, they interviewed Mariotakis, who's a senator or congresswoman out of New York, and they asked her why she was one of the 13 Republicans who voted for that bill, and she answered it. She said, "First of all, I think I'm the only congressperson who read the entire thing," and I thought, kudos. Second of all, she goes, "The money that's appropriated for my state is specific to rail, subways, the seaports, bridges, and roads." Like, she pointed right at it in the bill. And I thought, yeah, I saw that too. That whole bill, because you got to remember, that original bill was supposed to be $6 trillion, right? They trimmed it all the way down to 1.75 because they cut all the crap out of it and it literally was infrastructure. But here's the problem. One of the tricks that Congress does to get a bill to look smaller than it actually is they change the interval. So for instance, if they said, look, we want this bill to be $6 trillion over 10 years, and then Congress or the people say, no, that's way too much. They'll say, okay, how about we cut the bill down to 1.5 trillion? Is that cool? And everyone's like, yeah, we'll go with that. I'm thinking of the Drake meme right now where he's kind of like, yeah, that one?
A year.
1.5 trillion, right? And they're like, yeah, that's great. But then you look at the interval, over 1.5 years. They cut the interval to make the price lower. But that just means in 1.5 years, they're going to renew it. They're good at that. Once you pass a budget, it's easy. Because once it's in there, the renewal vote's instant. They're like, hey, we're going to have to redo this bill. Cool? Everyone's like, yeah, let's do it. So they're still going to get their money because they're going to dog and pony it, smoke and mirrors it with renewals of shorter term bills. And that's exactly what they did. So yeah, this bill does say infrastructure, and it does say it's a shorter interval. But here's the best part. Even when that happens, they're not going to get the money where it needs to go. Because this is what had happened in the past. You get a government contract for a survey company or a construction company like Halliburton or Brown and Root Company, something that like Dick Cheney owns or something, right? You contract that company and you're like, okay, go do a soil sample study on this so we can tell if we can build a bridge here. And they're like, okay, wink. 18 months goes by and they're like, okay, come to Congress and tell us what you found. And they're going to be like, yeah, we can't build that. Why not? Well, we did this 18-month study. But we ran out of money. We gave you $2 billion. How the hell did you run out of money digging out core samples from the earth? Well, we just ran out of money. Okay, well, we're going to have to audit you. Wink. And they don't. Because if you did audit them, you'll find out that the CEO and the board of trustees all got a $3 million bonus that year. That's where the money's going to end up. Even though the bill does say infrastructure, and yeah, they did pass it, and yeah, it did verbally say what it was going to do, and Mariotakis voted for it, she sort of still played us for fools. Because at the end of the day, her interest groups are going to get paid, or their interest groups are going to get paid, and the roads are still not going to be built. I don't know. There's something going on in the chat. Let me see.
Yeah.
YouTube is throttling you or me. Your chat just choked for no reason and paused, but now it's back. The EFT have not logged into chat. I don't know.
ATF.
Yeah, AFT.
No, AFT.
It's AFT.
Biden says it's AFT. So
Yeah.
Speaking of which, did you hear what happened this week?
Go on. Oh, let me
For
get rid of this guy's
85
face.
be prepared to be scared, because for 85 minutes, Kamala Harris was president this week.
Oh, yeah. No, you're right. Yeah. Biden went in yesterday
Went for a colonoscopy.
for a colonoscopy at Walter Reed. And for, what was it, 2.5 hours? Something like that?
It was about an hour and a half.
Yeah. She was president of the United States. Acting president, they call it. What's really
acting
funny
president.
is, I was watching Gutfeld last night, and they talked about that. And he goes, man, it should have took... I can't believe a colonoscopy took 2.5 hours. I mean, obviously, they couldn't figure out where to put the probe, which end to put it in. And once they did figure it out, they still found his head on the other side. Like, oh, shit.
No, I can believe it took almost 2 hours because because Biden's such full of shit. But that's besides the point.
Well, I've seen 2 different ways that they do this. And because my dad has to get them done. My mom's got to get them done too, I think, actually, now that I think about it. Anyway, point is they bring you in, and the day before, you have to drink this disgusting, I think it's a potassium citrate or some shit. You have to drink like a gallon or 2 of this, and it just makes you go and go and go and go. Like, you turn into the Exxon Valdez. Because by the time you're done, you're squeaky clean on the inside because there's nothing in you. You will literally drop like 10 pounds of water weight in the process, too.
They have cut the amount you have to drink quite a bit.
Oh, they probably upped the concentration then.
What I'm surprised is I'm surprised that they made her president.
Yeah.
He had the procedure done, and he survived the procedure.
Woke up.
Well, yeah. See, that's the thing.
I'm surprised because that was the perfect way to get her to be the first female president.
You don't want that.
Just get rid of the bill.
You don't.
Get rid of it.
We'll touch that. We'll touch on that because we talked about that in the lobby for weeks. We'll get to that. I promise you.
Okay. I'm just saying.
But you're right.
Because
the process requires sedation. Sedation requires blood tests. Just like if you take your dog in to get his teeth cleaned, some dogs they're like, we can't do it because the sedation will kill him. Stuff like that, right? Same thing with the president. You're right. He's 79 years old today. Happy birthday, asshole. But the point is, yeah, you're right. That could happen. They had to sedate him. Then they had to basically shove a roto-rooter down his throat. I mean, up his ass.
Perfect chance.
And that's the thing, though. They probably had an IV of...
Applesauce?
No. They probably had an IV or a needle full of adrenaline in case his heart rate started to tank. Because of that very concern. Now, let me tell you why you do not want him out of office. You want him to stay where he is while we're stuck with him. You don't want him out. Here's the problem.
No. I know. I'm just saying that if I was the left, they're always harping about wanting a female president, this and that. And I'm surprised
okay,
they
we'll
let
take
him
it
live.
from both sides. We'll take this from both perspectives. But for our perspective, you don't want him out. Hey, wait a minute. Before I get started, I got to tell Jimmy and I got to tell Ozzy. There is a new Smith & Wesson M&P 10mm. Yes. It's based off of the 45 large frame pistol. Yes. Am I interested in it? No. Because I already own a ProTac 2 2011 that holds 18 or 17 rounds of 10mm. That's the only reason I'm not really interested in it. But it's cool. I am interested. I do appreciate the power of the 10mm, which is why when Kalashnikov USA comes out with their KP-10, I will have one. Okay, let me go back to the other thing now. From our perspective, you don't want Biden out of office.
I know.
Not early. You want him there. Because think of the order of succession. If he is out, America, they will spin it as, look, we have the first black female president. And you're like, no, you don't. You have the first Jamaican and Indian halfie. Like, I hate the fact that cultural appropriation is so one-directional. If you're half black, all of a sudden everyone says you're all black. They want to claim you. Do you ever hear the Indian community say, we're so glad she's Indian? No, they don't, do they? They don't care. Only
They really
liberals label, which is retarded. So even if
So
they
that means-
spin
that
that,
means the racism in this country is because of liberals.
yeah, well, even if they spin that, right? They'll spin it as the first black female president in history. Okay, it sounds good on paper. Let me give you the reality. It's the first socialist president that nobody wanted. She received 0 delegates and was one of the earliest dropouts during the primary. Do
I
you
know, I
really
was there.
want that to be
I was there.
president?
I don't want that to be
Right.
president, No.
It gets worse. It gets a lot
the-
worse.
Yeah, the worst is for vice president.
No,
Speaker of the
she gets
House
to a
become vice
she gets to a
president?
no. They get to appoint it.
They appoint one.
But here's the
Who
thing.
would you appoint?
It gets worse. So there has been discussions because of her low performance or approval rating, which I think is at 26% now.
Yeah.
And I think Biden's is at 38 now. They
Yep.
would try to do a double impeachment. Now, do you remember how long the last impeachment trial took? Now imagine
Yeah.
having to do 2 simultaneously, right? By the time that's done, the midterms are over. But then it goes worse than that. Say you succeed. Now it's 2022 and a half, and you have President Nancy Pelosi.
Oh,
Really?
God.
Do you want that squad shill who twitches more than Audrey Hepburn or Katharine Hepburn? No.
Well,
The one who's got a freaking IV drip of Pinot Grigio up her ass all day?
about as
No.
drunk as Jimmy is most of the time.
You
What's the
don't
problem?
want that hypocrite as president of the United States. But let's
Yeah, I
say,
guess.
let's say you find a way to get rid of her too. Okay?
Then you have
Now,
Chuck Schumer, right?
now it's 2023 and a half because you managed to get rid of her, right? So now what do you got? President Chuck Schumer.
Oh my
It
God.
goes to House Minority Leader, don't it?
Hold up. Well, maybe. You might be right. But
We might.
let's say nightmare scenario, okay? Nightmare scenario is President Chuck Schumer. Now let's say you find a way to get rid of him. It's already 2024. But
Might as well
even if
start-
you got it early, what do you got next? President Gerald Nadler. Think of that succession order. You
I-
want to keep the bumbling idiot there because he's the least dangerous out of all of them.
No, because he's got a big mouth.
But still, he's the least dangerous. The next person in line, Socialist Squad capitulator. The next one after that, bumbling idiot alcoholic, hypocrite, no mask wearing, Pinot Grigio injected asshole Nancy Pelosi. You get her out, you've got fucking the Penguin. No, sorry, you don't have the Penguin. You've got Leatherface with Schumer. And then you got the Penguin with Nadler. You don't want any of those. And by the time you get rid of all of them,
Speaker of the
you could have
House,
just voted
and
them
then
out in
the
24.
Minority leader.
Anyway,
That's why guns are superior to impeachments.
Patrick jumped in one day
Yeah.
and he said, you know, he wants to be the next insurrection shaman. He really does. You can tell. He's so motivated to do that, right? And he always reminds me of Michael Chiklis from I forgot the name. Was it The Shield? Something like that? Where he was always like this balding tough guy. Do you want your teeth in or your teeth out during this interrogation? That guy? Yeah. He's turning into that. And there's a place for that. But he has this idea of we should just say enough of this and just march into Washington and just run them out and burn the whole thing down, start over. Now, his method of doing that is completely criminal and wrong, dangerous, right? But the idea of raising
Well, it
DC
works for the
to
left every time they get pissed off.
Well, no, I mean, I've got this crazy idea, okay? Raising DC to the ground, leveling it, is not a terrible idea if you think about it.
Chicago's got to go first.
Well, I'm getting to that point. The reason I say that is, what's the word? Geographically, our capital is in a very dangerous part of the country. It's too close to the coast for a naval strike. Way too close, right? You want to put your capital somewhere where you've got as much time as you can to stop a threat or identify one. Like, realistically, the best place to put the capital of the United States is Kansas. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's in the middle, right? You rebuild it there.
Remember the first cap? I think the first capital was New York, wasn't it?
New York or Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
But either way, you get my point, right? Like, ballistically, it's in a terrible place. Geographically, it's in a terrible place. Yes, that was a small fledgling country that was on the coast at the time. It made sense at the time. But that was before submarines and intercontinental ballistic missiles and artillery. It's like, it's a dumb place for it to be now. And we probably should have thought about that during the Lewis and Clark expedition. We should have been like, yo, if we're going to push out that far, maybe we should move all the stuff that's important to this nation further in. Especially since they were, you know, even back then, they were vulnerable to naval bombardment. Because back then, that was the only way to get to the land.
But to try to do that back then, it was logistically impossible.
Well, no, I get what you're saying. Oh, we built all these marble buildings. You want us to tear them all down?
No,
Yes.
no. I'm talking about supplying a basically wilderness capital.
Yeah. Well, realistically speaking, I guess even if you somehow manage to move the capital and just leave the original capital there as a historical monument, fine, whatever. How much time does that buy you in terms of ICBM? 4 minutes, maybe? You can launch a lot of countermeasures in 4 minutes. It's 4 more minutes.
They can put the new capital on the rubble of Chicago. I'm fine with that. Just put a big fucking gate around it.
See, that's the problem. You're still too close to a neighboring country.
Yeah.
What? We're worried about Canada?
Well,
Hey, listen. Maybe they have bear cavalry and we just don't know it yet.
The first capital was New York City, okay? Then they moved it to Philadelphia.
Yes.
And then they decided they were just going to build a whole entire new district for the capital.
Yes.
And that became DC.
Yes, to separate it from states' powers and influences, yes.
Now the problem is either of those places were bad places for a capital because it was still too close to the
Yes,
coast.
but in the beginning of the nation, all the states were right there on the coast. We
whole
weren't
damn
inland
nation.
yet.
Exactly.
Now we are.
Exactly.
Now we are.
Now we're spread out.
Right.
Honestly, the capital should be, I hate to say this, somewhere kind of in the central of the country.
Kansas.
You ever looked at the fucking map?
Did you miss that little detail? Kansas.
Not Kansas.
No, it's right in the it's smack dab in the middle, and Gizzard Gary can keep the lights on over there.
Look, another key point in the favor of Chicago is we got Rittenhouse up here.
No,
Not
you
for
don't.
long.
No, you
Not for
don't.
long.
No, they said he was packing his shit out of Antioch last night.
That's
He's
what they
gone.
said.
He's gone, dude.
I'm telling you right now, Rittenhouse and his family are moving somewhere where it's more conservative. That is 100% how that's gonna go. He's not gonna stay in that area.
No, I'm pretty sure he's living in Wayne LaPierre's house now that he's about to become the next president of the NRA.
Why the
see what I did
fuck
there?
would you want to live with LaPierre?
I didn't say with him. I said he's living in his house because he's about to be the next president of the NRA. It's a joke.
I doubt it. Ted Nugent probably gave him a room.
He probably would.
He's actually hiding behind the left eye of George Washington. I watched National Treasure. I saw it.
Did you?
I did. That's a documentary.
Oh
Okay. You guys in the chat have been great, by the way. I've never had people stick around this long for it, so I do appreciate that, especially since I've been really bad about being consistent. Some of you know about my October and should be pretty surprised that I actually came out of it unscathed.
Or October.
Well, I think
Hey.
Oktoberfest helped me get through October, to be honest.
You know, there is a certain elements that just don't give a fuck.
True. But, like, I'm just looking at the playback statistics, and I'm like, oh, wow, these guys are actually watching this for once.
It's
Well,
interesting.
I ran out of topics. So you guys got anything else you want to talk about? Like anything interesting or new or something I might have left out?
Yeah. Actually, did you mention the fact that the McCloskeys were at the
Yes.
at the Rittenhouse case?
Yes. And
Okay.
now that you mention that, there was a guy that was on the grounds of the courthouse 2 or 3 days ago,
Mhm.
walking around with I'm going to use the prosecution's word, a strapped AR-15. So it was slung. And the police came up and asked him a few questions. And they asked him to present an ID, which he did, and a legal carry permit, which I'm not sure he did. But what ended up happening afterwards is what's got me kind of quirking an eyebrow. He took the gun and put it back in his vehicle, locked it in the case, locked it in the trunk, and then came back to the demonstration. Why? Now,
They
do
probably
they
asked
have?
him to put it away.
Well, I mean, did
They-
did he say
they-
I
they
don't
could
have a
ask
carry
nicely.
permit? And they said, well, then you can't carry that. Is there a stipulation that you can't carry long guns without a carry permit in Wisconsin either?
No,
Carry
it's
permits
constitutional
wouldn't cover a long gun.
Okay,
Huh.
so maybe he just
Most-
voluntarily did it.
Yeah.
Most
probably.
they're not allowed to have guns on court property.
Ah, well, on the
From what
grounds of
I've
a federal building, I
heard-
guess.
And from what I've heard, he also was a disgraced police officer.
Huh.
Hmm.
Okay. I mean, I was curious because I thought that was a bit odd that they would mention this and then they didn't say why he put it away. And then they didn't ask him either. Like nobody interviewed him, so I don't know his name or nothing.
Probably he was told to go put it in his car, otherwise they'd arrest him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did you guys
And
see
that-
the
that-
exit interviews for it's not Rosenbaum, it was the other guy. What was the other guy's name?
No.
That's how much we know.
Yeah. that's how
There was
much we know.
Rosenbaum, there was Grosskreutz, and then there was that other one. The skateboard guy. Anyway, they interviewed
The skateboard they never found.
they interviewed the girlfriend of skateboard guy. She was with BLM. And before she spoke, there was a couple other speakers, right? And I'm sorry, but if you're going to put your best face forward and you're going to try to represent yourself as a legitimate group, you should try not to make it sound like a hip-hop show in between speakers. Put your hands together and give it up for this. Come on, give it up, make some noise. I'm just like, really? No, I know it was Grosskreutz. It was the other guy, the skateboard guy. Anyway, she went up there and spoke. And it just felt so fake, canned, and artificial to me. Huber, that's it. Thank you. What it was is, she was like, he was the love of my life. And I bet if you dug into their past, they probably dated for like 4 months. Just saying. Maybe longer. I don't know.
doing that
Probably
for
had
fame.
a couple of
Also-
restraining orders on him too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, look at the guy's past, his rap sheet. Look at his radical views. And then look at this girl who's clearly being used as a BLM puppet. And
And
she's
she's
like,
doing this for
he was
fame."
the love of my life. It's like, what are you, 16 and this is fucking high school? Love of your life? You haven't even lived your life yet.
Yeah.
How dare you? Oh.
Well, she also handed a note to Kyle with her
Oh,
number on.
I wish I had that Greta thing. How dare you? Like on the spot, if I could just push a button. Oh, I need that. Anyway, I thought that was funny. They interviewed her. She went off. What was cool was, I don't know if Fox is getting in trouble for this, if they have to cut a check to the FCC, because I mean, in all honesty, the FCC doesn't do a goddamn job anyway. But
Mhm.
during some of the interviews throughout this process, they were not able to censor certain things, like from the prosecution or from the defense attorney or from this girl who was like, she was sitting there going about, this is not fair, this is an injustice, the legal system is bunk, and we need to correct this fuckery. Like, she said that really loud, and everyone's like, woo! And like Fox was just letting the camera roll, and at the very end they were like, sorry, we know we can't control the language of the people if we don't know what they're going to say. And it's like, nah, it's okay, it's perfectly fine, we've heard
That's
worse.
why it's not fine, because they have to pay the fines on the censorship.
I think that check was worth cutting.
That's why I'll never do public interviews for the other one.
I doubt anybody would want you to.
No, next time there's like a public demonstration, Tony's just gonna walk around with like what looks like a John Deere hat with an Early Watch logo on it.
There you go.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't know. I always walk around with my patch that's got, you know, my caricature on there, which, I don't know, should I change it? No, I can't change it because it's based off the guy, not the character. Anyway. Alright, so I guess that's all we've got. Let's go for what you're doing the rest of the weekend then, since I've got 4 of you. You guys got anything going on?
No. Kick it back.
I don't.
Did you go to Harbor Freight yesterday?
No.
You gonna do that today?
I'm thinking about it. Right now I'm playing with the fucking battery and charger I just got from Harbor Freight.
The same thing we do every weekend, Pinky.
He's gonna drive out to his locals and buy
Take over the
ammo.
world.
No, he's. I know when he said that, I knew exactly what he meant. He's gonna go out and buy freaking ammo at the local.
That's what he does.
That's what he always does. I'm gonna run around in my living room probably while I'm doing laundry today, and I'm going to menacingly jab my bayonet towards 6 Yorkies.
I thought you were gonna give him a bath, like you have to do every weekend.
I did that. I did 5 of them last night. My mom did one herself, so they're already done. Like, I don't know, man. Everyone's got something that's going to be on their headstone someday, right? And somebody once told me that every person has a spirit animal based off of like your personality and your demeanor. And everyone thinks they're one type of animal, but you're not allowed to say what your spirit animal is. Someone else has to tell you what it is through consensus. You'll hear it enough times from enough people where you go, oh, I guess that's it then. And when I was growing up, my first music teacher, actually first 3 of them, they all said the same thing. They said, your spirit animal's a mockingbird. And I was like, what? And they're like, well, you're long, you're thin, you're light, and you're very good at doing imitations. Like, I was good at doing impressions, and I was a musician, so birds sing, right? And I thought, well, that's kind of cool, but it's not very butch. And then later on, after my engagement ended, I turned into the cynical asshole you all know today. And coincidentally, it was about the time I became a Dennis Leary fan too. But yeah.
Shocker.
But yeah, my mentor and several people were like, "No, your spirit animal's a pit bull," and I was like, "Oh, that's better." And I'm like, well, "Where'd you come up with that?" And they were like, "Well, you're fiercely loyal, you're faithful, you're analytical, you're intelligent, and when something pisses you off that you defend, you will clamp onto their leg and shake your head back and forth until you either rip the leg off or they kill you." And I thought, okay, I can see that. But anyway, the point is, everyone's got something that's going to be on their headstone someday too. And I think that is something that you, as the individual owner of that headstone, will get to choose because it's your life, right? And I'm pretty sure mine is going to just say, let's just get this shit over with. Because that's how I have been living my life for decades now, right? It's like I got home yesterday, tired, a little sore, back hurts, shoulder's still fucked. And I saw all my dogs barking and screaming and making all their noise. And they kind of stink. They didn't have a bath in a week. And I was just like, fuck it. So I poured a beer, went into the bathroom, turned on the tub, and started washing dogs one after the other. Now, granted, some of you knew this. My back was fucked for like 3 days. And I'm still doing this anyway. And to bathe a Yorkie in a bathtub, you have to have a trick hip because half your body's in and half is out. But I did it. Let's just get this shit over with. Today, same story. Got to replace baseboards in my kitchen, start priming and painting the drywall repairs. Let's just get this shit over with. I was going to... I usually do what I call my Sunday bitch work, and it's not sexist. It's just I feel like a bitch doing it, right? Laundry. Usually I wash the dogs. If I have to that week, steam clean the carpets and the couches and things like that. Let's just get this shit over with. Everyone got kicked out of my house this morning. I sent them all out to go do their errands. So I got a quiet house except for the dogs barking. So I'll probably just go ahead and do all my Sunday bitch work today just to get it over with. Like, why not? I got nothing else to do. And the worst kept secret on Discord, which hopefully someday I'll get to introduce you all to, with the proper title, that is, if I have my way. She and I made an agreement today because she hates doing laundry. She hates it. And I told her flat out, I'm like, don't worry, I love doing it. She goes, do you have a screw loose? And I'm like, no. You have to find the silver lining in stuff you have to do, right? And for me, I actually love doing laundry. I know it sounds weird, but the reason I like it, and Jimmy will definitely love this, and some of you will too. Think about it like this. Before you throw it in the wash, you can separate it, right? That's not a big deal. It takes a couple of seconds. You just look, throw them in different piles. You put the piles in front of the washing machine, you don't have to take it very far. So you got the piles. The piles stink, whatever. Then you load the machine. Then you put in the detergent. Then you set the timer. The timer for mine is 1 hour and 39 minutes. Once it's started, there's nothing I can do except wait 1 hour and 39 minutes. So I walk over to the refrigerator and I grab 3 beers. 3 beers later, I take the stuff out of the washer, throw it in the dryer, set that timer. That's 1 hour and 20 minutes. Huh, what am I going to do for 1 hour and 20 minutes? Walk back to the fridge, grab 3 more beers. It's great.
I like how you've separated washing and drying, so you get 3 more beers for each load you do of either one.
Well, okay, so I knew that was coming up. Soon. I set the dryer on, and then I set the next load in the washer. So those 2 things are going simultaneously. And what I end up doing is my dryer, once the timer expires, it will kick on and spin every couple of minutes just to keep it from wrinkling. And sometimes it'll add a little bit of heat until I go back over there to open the door. So that lapse of 19 minutes between the washer cycle and the other dryer, I'm just letting it do its thing, right? So I let it do its thing. But yeah, I get, 3 beers in the wash, 3 beers in the drying cycle. And then the part that I don't like is folding. Putting things on hangers and folding your underwear, shirts, and your fucking socks and shit like that. Because my room with the washer and dryer, it's kind of small. There's no fan, so it gets kind of hot when you open the door, and it sort of starts heating up the room. That's the part I hate. But I could probably resolve that by putting a fan in there, right? But usually the thing is I've already had 6 Oktoberfests, and those are 6.5%ers. By the time I'm standing in front of there doing it, yeah, I'm bitching about it, but I'm too drunk to give a shit. I'm just whatever. So I told her,
your 2 loads of laundry is your capacity.
Oh no. One time I had to do 4. And that was an early night. That was a very early night. I think I did the bedding first because I knew that if I didn't make my bed after I took it out of the dryer, by the time I got to the 4th load, I'd be so drunk that I'd probably just throw all the sheets in the middle of the bed and just roll up against them. So yeah, I did that. But no, you're right. That was an early fucking night. I think I went to bed at 7:30. But yeah, that my weekend thing. That's all I got going on. I think I'm gonna go take the car. I got a car wash. I got to take my car to the car wash. I don't know why I had a hard time saying that. But
supposed to response.
Oh, or a bottle of whiskey. Half a bottle later, I pass out. Wake up an hour later. Put the half dried clothes in the dryer. Finish the bottle. Pass out an hour later. start another bottle to make my wife fold. Now I got to take the car to the manual car wash because I got the soft top on.
Ooh.
So I got, 3 stacks of quarters sitting in front of me. I'll probably go over there and wash the car.
At least you don't live in an area which it snows.
No. Well, we had that cold snap at the beginning of the year.
It doesn't snow often there.
Right. And at the time when it did that, I had the hard top on anyway. Usually what I do is, this is the first time I've been able to keep it off this long, but generally I only take the hard top off in like early spring and early autumn because the weather's perfect for it, and then the hard top's on the whole time. I think I've had the hard top off for almost a month now. I actually wanted it to be in the sun because there was this one spot where it needed to stretch a little bit, I guess. And it worked. Like, all the seams are nice and tight the way they're supposed to be. But yeah, even not using your canvas top can make it go bad. And for my car, that canvas top, the replacement is $6,500.
Oh Christ! You can go to Walmart and just buy a tarp.
No, not going that route. But what's funny is when you buy one back when they were new, when you buy one, it's only soft top. You have to buy the hard top separately. The hard top is only a $3,000 option, but the replacement soft top is twice that, $6,500, and then you got to pay someone to install it. So I'm very diligent about keeping this thing clean and in good shape because I store it for 9 months out of the year, with the hard top above it.
Hey Jimmy, are we doing a show Monday?
Better be. Oh, is he still in Phoenix?
I don't know.
Huh.
That's why I'm asking.
Did he go back to Phoenix?
For work, usually.
For work.
Yeah, I was telling Tony about that. That's a hell of a drive, right? My commute to work is 6 hours. Well,
Honestly, I didn't know if he was going back to Phoenix or just to Arizona.
yeah.
I don't pay that much attention.
Yeah.
Neither do I.
Well, I do have a funny story, I guess. Last weekend was the Wanamaker Gun Show. I have yet to go to a November one. I regretfully didn't get to go this year. I've been trying to talk Tony into going to a November one, but he had a lot going on this month, so he gets a mulligan. Maybe we'll get to do April next year. I don't know. It's up to you. Either way, one of the tragic stories that I heard was the gun snob went, took a lot of video, pictures and whatnot, got home, and the drive corrupted. Ouch. You have my condolences, sir. That must have sucked.
Yeah, but man, he lives right there, so it ain't like he was out,
I know.
a day
Still.
driving. And
Yes, you have a show tomorrow. Or
And
Monday.
you know what I would say about that? You should have had a backup.
Well, yeah.
Always copy your data. Don't,
I have a...
don't just leave it on OneDrive and think that's good enough, because OneDrive ain't good enough. You should have, several drives and copy across all of them. Period.
I bought this. I'm prepared for it. I got the gimbal and everything now. But I also bought a replacement quick charger, like battery pack thing. I got the idea from...
I gotta get a new gimbal
crap, I forgot his name.
for my Note 9.
Raphael. I got this idea from Raphael. This battery pack that I bought can literally recharge my iPhone 12 Pro Max 4 times. Like, that's how good this battery is. I was like, oh, that's good, because I can record 4K video on this phone through the gimbal for, I think, 7 hours if I wanted to. And this can recharge that battery 4 times. So I'm like, oh, this is perfect. So I got one of those. I got this gimbal. I still just use the mic built into the phone. It seems adequate enough. So, like, that's not a big deal. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but my dogs are losing their damn minds.
barely.
But yeah,
Barely.
I'm prepared for the next Wanamaker Gun Show that I'm going to go to. It's just, I'm not sure what I'm going to buy once I get there. Because y'all know, most of y'all know.
Pretty much got everything you wanted.
Yeah. Yeah, like...
I remember when we were there in 2018. It's like, I pointed out, hey, Sean, look at that rifle. That rifle's pretty cool. And you're like, damn it, Night Strike. Now we got to go buy this rifle.
Yeah. No, I went there.
I was just trying it out because it looked cool.
I went there specifically to buy a Vetterli Vitali.
Yeah,
And didn't see one. And
They didn't
then
have
and then you go, "Hey, check out that grenade firing Enfield." And I was like, "Oh my god." So I bought it like instantly. I was like, "Give me that." So I bought that. And then not 10 minutes later, he's like, "I found your Vetterli Vitali." Huh?
and Sean
200
was like, "God damn it!"
He's like $250. And I'm like, "What?" I'm looking at my wallet and I got $150. I'm like, "Damn it. I got to take out an extra $100 if I want to do this." But I was like, I might need the money for the trip home. So I chickened out. I got home and I didn't even touch the 150. And I'm like, damn it, I could have bought the Vitali.
You should have.
It took me 2.5 years to find one locally to get one.
You should have just
Too
done
bad
what
he didn't
Cliff
point
does.
out a
Just put it on the
K31.
credit card.
Yeah. Actually, no, we did see a couple of K31s at the time. They were a little out of my league. I mean, I only paid $300 for that Enfield, which worked out great. My only
paid
regret from that show, I didn't
wasn't
get one of
bad.
those steak sandwiches. Man, those looked so good.
You know what I regret from that show?
Mm.
Not buying that M44 Mauser.
I was gonna say, not opening your door for the pizza.
Yeah, the pizza. Yeah, maybe the pizza too. Just
Well,
throw
you
that
ended
in
up with a 53 though, right?
there. Yeah. You know, that's funny. I bought a rifle that I wanted. I wanted an M1A or like an M14 cop.
Mhm.
I got one of those this year because it was on my bucket list. I've always wanted one. Okay, and then just the next week after getting that rifle from the FFL, the next week a guy in my area is selling a Type 53 for $250, and I'm like, I gotta jump on that.
Mhm.
And I go and get that, and then what is it? 3 months after that, Biden bans all Russian ammo.
Oh yeah.
So, you know, and right now, Tula, just steel case Tula 7.62 by 54R is like $20 a box of 20.
I feel your pain. I got that.
I mean, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna never shoot that rifle. I'm just gonna hold on to it.
No, I feel your pain on that. I got that PU sniper the day of the ban.
Yeah.
And I
mean,
thought, well, I'll just hand load this. Good luck finding 7.62 by 54R brass. Everyone bought it all.
Exactly. Everyone bought it all, or it's all Burdam primed.
Well, it gets worse. So then I was looking at buying a DP28 or building one.
Yeah.
And the way I was going to do it originally was I was going to go to Atlantic, buy the parts kit, and then I was going to have to find a barrel, buy a receiver, and then send it to this company called SMG here in Texas and have them modify the bolt. And by the time I was done with all of
Didn't
that,
they go out of business?
they're still around.
Okay.
$2,900 to do it that way. And I thought, it's kind of expensive, but it's still cheaper than an Ohio Ordnance Works BAR, which I also want.
I want one of those too, but I ain't paying. I ain't
$4
putting
grand.
down $4 grand for that. No.
Yeah. So like I sat there and went, meh. Hey, wait a minute. I will buy that if you're serious, Jimmy. Yeah, I'll buy that. I will buy that. Sold. Anyway, what was I saying? I just bought an M44 apparently. So
Fucker.
oh yeah, okay, so the route that I was going to go.
I got a Type 53. It's basically an M44. Yeah, I know it's Chinese, but honestly, all I had to do was just buy a different stock, which came with the upper handguard with it, from one of the sellers online, and it fit the stock perfectly, and honestly, it looks nicer than it did when I bought it.
Well, the DP28 thing sort of fell apart because then I found they called it a DP28 dummy gun. What it was is a guy bought a parts kit, put all the parts into a dummy cast receiver. So it's a legitimate parts kit in a dummy receiver. But the best part was his parts kit had a live barrel. So I thought, oh, I'll just go that route because now I've got a live barrel and all I need is the receiver and the bolt modification. And all of a sudden my bill just went from $2,900 or $2,800 to $1,700.
Middle guy's like, hey guys, what the heck? Apparently he wanted in on that deal too. Sorry, man.
Sorry. You got to be quick in this game. Got to be quick.
You gotta be quick.
Actually, I think the other reason is because I went 12 minutes past the 2 hours so far, and they're probably wondering why the hell I'm Jerry Lewis telethonning this.
We're just talking about guns. Who
know.
doesn't like talking about guns?
I know. Speaking of paying people off, I gotta pay for that magazine that I just bought. So anyway, yeah, we've run a little bit over time. I'm gonna start playing this. And I'm gonna thank you all for watching today because this was the Week in Review, episode 23. If you want to be part of my panel, or part of the server, or part of just the regular chats we have every day, hit me up in the email in the description below, because it is a legit email, just cut and paste it. I know it's long, but I'll send you a link, and you can join us every day. Also, maybe hit the like button, subscribe, maybe tell people that we're doing this every week, which I'm trying to get back to doing every week. Also, check out my other playlists and see if my other interests may be of interest to you. Or not, it's up to you. I gotta figure out what the hell I'm gonna record next. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Later.
Hey, everybody.
Later.